grant funding application summary. That had been included in your package with the original budget, and Lori has it up there on the screen. The first section of that report is the general allocation of $20,000 in the budget, and we have itemized out the applications that were received by the deadline of December 31st and made some recommendations based on past history and the amount requested by the organizations. So the allocations that the staff have recommended would be for the Lions Club, $1,600, Celtic Folk Society, $5,000, St. John's Ambulance, $500, Plowmen's Association, $200, West Coast Blues, $2,000, and the Girls Fastball, $500. So that allocates $9,800 out of your $20,000 general allocation, with the remainder to cover any further applications that were received during the year.
Thank you. Councillor Bazinet.
Yes, I'm just looking for more information regarding the Celtic Festival. The original ask was $15,000. Recommendation up there is $5,000. Do they have hired staff on their organization?
I believe they came to council a few meetings ago, I believe. I think they indicated at that point they did have a paid staff member.
I believe when I asked the question, I think it was me that asked it, the answer from Mr. Lodge was they have 2 paid employees, and then during the actual event there's 3 more. So there's 2 paid employees plus 3 more.
So I guess my problem is, and I'm not saying that the Celtic Festival isn't good for Goderich, because it is good for Goderich, and they do bring people to the town over the course of the weekend, and lots of people, actually more in the weekend, it's a week before as well. But have they ever invested any money back into the town of Goderich? I'm using West Coast Blues as an example because John Harrison was here doing a presentation, and he asked if the town would be willing to give them some money, they would invest it back into the community. I don't recall ever seeing anything from the Goderich Celtic Festival where a service club received a check or anything like that. I'm not educated on it, that's why I'm asking, but I know, you look at the Lions Club, $1,600. We're giving the Celtic Festival a lot more than a service club that donates a lot of money into our community. That's just my point. I know it probably won't be well received with a lot of people in the community, but West Coast Blues, I believe, did ask for $5,000, and we're recommending 2 up there. The AMGH Foundation, what is the recommendation for that as well?
No, I think we're recommending more than 2 for the
That's 2,000.
Goderich.
It's 2,000 up there.
It is 2,000.
Yeah, but isn't it 2,000 each for the 2 events, or what did you?
I believe the total.
The Blues Festival.
The original recommendation of staff was $2,000. They are adding a second event, I believe, in 2018.
And their ask was $5,000 with a return of $10,000 to the community.
So you can change that now. That's up to you. Any of these can be changed. That's why we're having a discussion. So
I would actually like to see that change to $5,000, and so I would like to see maybe less than $5,000 for the Celtic Festival. Move the $3,000 from the 5 out of the Celtic and give the West Coast Blues.
well, you still have 20. I think you still have amount of money. I would suggest what you do is you up the Celtic to 5, or the Blues Fest to 5, and that issues out of, because that's what they've asked for, and then have your discussion on whether you want to cut the.
Okay, so let's keep it focused here then. So for the Blues Festival,
It'd be 5,000.
it'd be $5,000. That's $2,500 for their event in May, and $2,500 for the event in September.
And then your Celtic.
Deputy Mayor Donnelly.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have any confidence in the way we approach this problem. It's willy-nilly, somebody's friend or somebody's enemy or whatever it is that motivates us. But I think that we have to be up on a higher level and look down on what we're doing. And I'm of this view that we should abolish this business of somebody coming and naming the price and then we give them half or something of that nature. I think that we should have two categories of gifts. Say, for example, $1,000 and $2,000, and we should then decide. We should have some criteria as to who is eligible to get it, and that having done that, then it's a judgment call as to which category they're in. That's more of a subjective decision, I think, than between 2,000 and 1,000. It wouldn't be a big decision to make. I think that it's wrong to proceed on this hit and miss basis. We should do it on some kind of a known, principled approach. Thank you.
I would agree with that, Deputy Mayor Donnelly, and you'll think back, it wasn't that long ago, we didn't have even an application for individuals or groups, and we certainly, by implementing that, not everyone that approaches town hall and asking for councils, to take a look at it are submitting the applications once they take them, because it's a detailed application as well. And I don't see any problem at all with coming up with a policy, because when we had the presentation by the one group, they made it clear that they had shortfalls, and basically we were making up for the shortfall is what it appeared to be when when the presentation was here. And I think taking a look at implementing some form of policy where we have set amounts, then it's don't ask for $10,000, because all we have available is $5,000 for the criteria that you're there. Councillor Hanson.
I don't disagree that that's a good idea. I think we do have to deal with what's in front of us at the moment, though, because we haven't set that in place. So it's a good idea for the future. I also have a question regarding the livery of the Goddard's Little Theatre. I don't see that in this donations to groups.
That's under a different category.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's a $15,000, and it's under a different category.
It's from the okay.
It is.
There's a reserve fund for that,
yeah.
Right?
However, now that you've raised it, I think so the public is clear that's watching this. Perhaps I can get an explanation from our treasurer. So thank you, Councillor.
In the grants to groups, there's a general allocation of 20,000, which are the items that I've got listed now, and there are some specific items that are budgeted separately. Did you flip, Lori, over? Yeah. There is the BIA, Lake Huron Center for Coastal Conservation, Alexandra Marine Foundation, Goddard's Little Theatre is in there, Healthy Hearts, and the United Way. So there's a second section to this. Does council want to review the second section, or are we going to deal with the general allocation items first?
I think perhaps we'll deal with the general allocation section first. We're there now.
I think you're really basically discussing the Celtic country. That's the only one that's been brought up.
Well, we did say that we're going to Blues Fest
We've
increase
done
it
that.
to
We've
5,000,
adjusted it
so
by
we've done
5,000,
that.
yes.
So now it's the Celtic Festival. Councillor Hanson.
I think that this may write itself as we develop a policy, and at this point, I think the Celtic Festival has incredible economic spin-off for the community, and because we haven't got our ducks in a row, I don't want to punish them at this moment in time when I think they probably need this funding. So I would suggest that we leave it as it is, increase the funds to the Blues Festival, and they can feel more
That way,
equitable if that's the
and
process.
that way, as we move forward, we'll have a policy in place. Councillor Bassinet.
I agree with Councillor Hanson. It's not so much punishing them, but when they came to do a presentation, they simply said they didn't market the event properly last year. They purchased some items that they thought they could sell, and they didn't sell as many as what they thought. So I guess moving forward, if we have a policy in place, that's a good thing. It'll be for the new council to address. My issue is, I don't have a problem with the $5,000, but moving forward, if someone comes to us because they didn't raise enough money because they didn't market their event like they have normally done, that shouldn't become the town's problem to continue to give them money for that. that's on them. The onus is on them. This event's been going on for a number of years in this town, so I would hope that they would have their ducks in a row moving forward and not have to come to the town to replace money they lost because they didn't sell something. That's all I have.
Thank you. Our building official has a question as well. Go ahead, Jason.
Just one thing to put into council's minds in regards to this. Most of these service groups, obviously West Coast Blues and Celtic Festival, which we're talking about, they all get tents for their events. Some come to council and say they would like the building permit fees waived for the tents. Others don't. We haven't been very consistent in regards to what we do. So if we're going to put a policy in place, I would suggest we put that into the policy that we either waive the fee or we don't, because the way that we do it right now, we probably come out even, but on some events we lose money because we don't bring in building permit fees for tents, and others we get money for it. So it's just something to think about.
Thank you. Thanks for that input. Deputy Mayor Donnelly.
Once again, if this was Donnelly's problem, it would be solved promptly on this basis. One, my long experience has been that our confidence in the staff is warranted. Two, I'm strongly inclined to look at their view carefully always. Three, I'm opposed to picking this one and not picking that one. I think that the most important thing is to be even-handed. And I see the even-handed solution in this, A, to accept the council or the administration's recommendation for this year, and B, to refer the matter back to the administration for a comprehensive policy for future years. Thank you.
Thank you. Council's wishes. Councillor Hoyt.
Can we take that a step further? I know since on my time in council, we've talked about this a number of times. I've heard Deputy Mayor Donnelly mention this numerous times about we need a policy on this. So rather than just saying we need a policy, can we put a timeline on asking administration to come back with a recommendation with a date on that so we can actually make something happen?
No? Perhaps come up with a motion for at the end?
Yes, maybe a motion at the end we can look at with the policy. You do have a policy in that you have an application. That was the process you wanted to put in place so that you could consider each application based on its merits. If you want additional stuff, we can certainly look at it. This isn't really administration's recommendation. This has sort of been discussed by administration and liaisons and that as to what I see no problem giving the Celtic $5,000. I'd supported it years ago when they came for $500. I even think probably from a personal perspective the $5,000 is low, but I look at it from I think there's some financial information we need from both in the form of audited financial statements or financial statements that you could give as part of this policy, because what we do is we have presentations here with very good presentations on why they need the money, whatever group it is. But if you go back to the basis of some financial statements signed, you can maybe have more in depth as to how exactly what they really need. So we'll include that, and at the end I'll write out a motion pursuant to your wishes on a policy.
Deputy Mayor Donnelly.
I don't often speak 3 times at the same matter, but I'm not going to either.
Just so you know, Deputy Mayor Donnelly, sitting at this vantage point, when I see that little grin come across your face, I get worried. Okay, thank you. Okay then, so what's our wishes here? We're going to go with the $5,000 then for Celtic Festival, $5,000 for the Blues Fest. We're okay with that. And then the hospital is one we have to talk about here. We're at $27,500 right now. They asked for $50,000. However, you'll see that the recommendation is that they come back and report. I mean, we're still going to have some money available, and there'll be others as well. Deanna, I'm going to refer that to you because we talked about this afternoon.
Okay, so if we move forward into the area of the schedule that has the grants that are budgeted separately,